really a pleasure to introduce this session because this is where the storytelling is really going to get very interesting. And we're going to hear from the people who have been involved from the very beginning and even before the beginning. So we're going to hear lots of lovely stories and tributes. And so we'd like you to really be engaged, put your cameras on and show some emojis when you feel like doing that. Put some notes in the chat when you feel like doing that. So let's really put on our active listening hats. Okay, so Chanel, would you like to just share the slide?
I'll do that.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think we're going to start with Maxine, who is going to introduce the first video. So this session is about honoring the founders. So maybe we can just share the slide on honoring the founders. And so Maxine is going to share a little video clip about Ian. And then Fulu is going to introduce Michelle's video clip. And then we're going to hear from Michelle herself, who will share some of her thought leadership and reflections. And then we'll hear from Angus in a video clip. And then Allison is here and will share as well. That's great. And then we'll end off with some participation from everybody giving their inputs in a word cloud. So we're going to ask you to really just bring your full selves and let's get ready for some storytelling. Okay, so Maxine, over to you.
Thank you, Des. I just want to check, is my sound okay? Is my audio okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everybody. Today, I have been given the wonderful privilege of talking about someone, or briefly talking about someone who has had a huge impact on the NSCF community, and that is none other than Dr. Ian Engelbrecht. Now, if you've heard of the name Ian, or if you've gotten to work with Ian, you probably know him as the data wizard. I think if Ian wasn't physically working with data, he probably was dreaming about doing data. That's how passionate he was. And his passion really showed not in just how skilled he was, but also in how he took his time to mentor and to teach us, the data technicians, because when he would teach, you would really see the passion coming through. But even though he's a data whiz, he's not only a data whiz. Some of you may know this or you may not. He's also a top expert in Southern African scorpions and spiders. He's also an author, yes, only with one book. He needs to come up with more books now. And he's also a problem-solving machine. I will talk about that just now. And he was just a fun and inspiring person to be around. You can't sit down or have a conversation with Ian and not be inspired and challenged in your thinking. Sometimes he would discuss things and we would love to challenge him all the time. And then I would leave the conversation thinking, oh, damn it, Ian might have been correct. Let me not say anything. And so you always leave inspired. But what really stands out for me about Ian is not just his knowledge. It's how he transfers his knowledge in practical, useful ways for our everyday lives. And this is how the problem solving comes about. As data technicians, we travel throughout South Africa through various provinces to do this project. And we come across problems all the time. And, one would just come up with a normal solution, how normal people do it. But Ian won't just come up with any solution. His solution is building a software or a system to deal with the problem. And that's how he thinks. And I'm going to briefly talk about something that he created. When you're data capturing, if you're familiar with data capturing plant specimens, you would look at an image you would look at a label of a plant specimen and you would data capture this plant specimen. So as technicians, we look at the scientific name. Now, if you're looking at type specimens, it's quite easy to identify the name. But then you get handwritten specimens or handwritten labels from the 1800s and 1900s, and you can't figure out, is it an S, is it an F, is it a G? And you're going on Google and you're typing in many iterations of what this name could possibly be. Well, Ian had a solution. He was like, no, this imaging project is too important for us to just do guesswork. So he created a system where he downloaded the SANBI taxon backbone. So all you have to do is then search the first 3 letters of what you think it is of the genus name and the first 3 letters of the species name, and all variations come up on the SANBI taxa backbone, and you can just copy it with the author and paste. But Ian didn't stop there. Of course, Ian being Ian, he didn't stop there, and he realized that there's some names or some genera that are not on the SANBI taxon backbone. So what did Ian do? He incorporated the World Flora Online onto the system. And so we have options, not just SANBI, but also the World Flora Online. And I promise you, from all my years of data capturing has never been this efficient. Working with Ian has never been boring. He sure used to push the data technicians, and sometimes we would hear the name slave driver being whispered across the corridor. But with that being said, he always made sure we have fun. As I said, we travel a lot, and each place we travel, he made sure that we visit it, we tour it, and we experience something new. It's not just working, but it's also experiencing something new. And despite him being a total workaholic, he always took time to check up on us, check up on our larger goals, our visions, what do we want? And lots of times he would spend time after hours coaching us, mentoring us, taking time to point us in the right direction, assisting us where he can, and always wanting the best for us and not for us to just stay in one place. And so honestly, work has not been the same without him. It's been a few months that we've had to work without him, and literally from this year, not a week or month goes by where the data technicians are working and you will just hear in the room, I miss Ian. Oh gosh, I miss Ian. Sometimes in our meetings, I would hear Chanel will ask us questions or Anthony will suggest something, and I could just hear Ian's voice saying, "Hi, Chanel," that voice, "Hi, Chanel," and I could hear him saying, "But did you think about this?" And so we always hear his voice, and we always thinking about him, and his absence is truly felt. And I think that Ian has left some very big shoes to fill, and I don't ever think that there will ever be another Ian. But with that being said, here is a short is a small glimpse of what Ian meant to us as the data technician group. We came up with we made a short video for his farewell, and we hope you enjoy the video. Thank you.
Good morning, team. Welcome to Ian's farewell. I hope you have your popcorn and drinks ready as we reflect on Ian's journey with the NSCF. When you think about Ian, what do you generally think about? Lots of people know this Ian constantly working, always behind his laptop. This is what he basically does all day, every day. As you can see, Ian is always frowning behind his laptop. And he's always in meetings. How can we forget about collection assessments? And trainings. You see, he just loves training people on data. Example.
Here's the new column. Say OK. So there's full name. I'm going to just reorder that quickly. I want full name to be in front.
And if he's not doing all of that, he's creating workflows, telling people how to do their jobs. And his favorite, collecting cool spiders. But that's the boring Ian.
Really boring.
We are here to expose the real Ian.
Are you ready?
Ian is not only a cat lover, he's a lover of animals. Show me a supervisor more cooler than this. He is also a lover of creepy crawly things, and he also loves helping us overcome our phobias. Example.
Head of skin. So there's the skin. That's the old skin. So when they shed their skin, it splits on the front like this, and then the scorpion comes out from there. So this is, it's called an olive thick-tailed scorpion, and it's olive because it's got that like greenish color. It's like a dark green. And this, I'm pretty sure this is an adult female.
Did we talk about how fearless he is when looking for spiders and scorpions? Listen to this.
I can see there's a snake's skin inside this one.
And you still talk about
As fearless as he is, his big heart led him to rescue two lovely kittens on the side of the road, Leo and Luna.
She's especially curious.
This is not for you.
Our supervisor is also a real big foodie. He loves treating us to delicious meals, and can you see? He is now a certified bunny chow lover. He also has a sweet tooth. And is always up for an adventure. Exploring cool new places with us. Don't play with our supervisor. Show me a supervisor that can jump like ours. Ian has a big smile, but he smiles from ear to ear when he's around us. Just focus on his smile in the pictures to follow. Not forgetting that he's also a DJ. And he has moves like Jagger. Just wait for it. With all the data work and being awesome, he sometimes has to take a nap. And should we mention on the job? We hate to see you leave, but we are immensely happy for you as you step into the next chapter of your life. Goodbyes are not fun, but here's ours.
As you embark on a new journey, we just know you'll keep coming up with new solutions and solving the world's problem like the programming whiz you are. We'll miss your laughter, our fun adventures, your quick solutions to every problem, and the amazing person that you are.
And may this new role of yours be filled with success, clean code, and some creepy crawlies.
Don't work too hard. Keep doing what you do best, tackling problems one line of code and data set at a time. Don't forget about us and don't have too much fun without us, okay?
Are you going to miss us, Ian? You better miss us. You better miss us.
We will miss you!
Thank you so much. That was so wonderful. Wow. So enjoyed that. I hope everyone got a window into the wonder of Ian and the amazing person that he was. I also have an enduring memory of him doing salsa at the talent evening that we had. So that was my enduring memory of Ian. Thank you, all of you, for doing such a wonderful job to Ian, to honor Ian. And I'm sure that wherever he is, he's going to contribute an amazing amount of knowledge and skills and fun in his new role. So thank you. We are ready now to move on to Fulu, who is going to do us the honor of honoring the next amazing person. Fulu.
Thank you, Des. What do I say after that? As much as that was fun, it was also quite touching. So the team really did a good job of blending the two. So what I'm going to introduce now is the video that we did when we were bidding farewell to Michelle. So Michelle has been a part of all of us here. Some part of our journey, she was there, she was involved in some way. For the hub team, she was involved even from hiring us. I'm sure some of our first memories were in the boardroom, her interviewing us to get the job. And then also mentoring most of us in our studies, even in the work, just showing us the ropes, showing us the way. So for most of us, she served as that guiding light, showing where to go, where to touch, how to do things, and so on. So you can imagine how hard it was when she was finally leaving. She did sort of prepare us. She tried, but I think she failed. And I say that because though she had been talking about leaving for months, close to a year, maybe even a bit more than a year, it just didn't land with us. And when it finally happened, we went through stages of grief. I remember us meeting at some time, and most of us were just saying it doesn't feel real, and we're struggling to accept it. But I think we've gotten through it. And so we just wanted to share what we shared when we were bidding her farewell. And we hope this will resonate with you as a community, because I know she had some impact in each of us. So Chanel is going to share that video, and then after that, we're going to hear from Michelle.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Fulu. That was beautiful. And I also have such an enduring memory of Michelle when we started the contract with NSCF. I think it was in 2017, the first meeting I had with you. And we were talking about this journey of transformation. And I told you about this book by Peter Block, The Answer to How is Yes. And then I gave you the book. And the next time I saw you, you said you read the whole book. And it was all about community building and leadership. And I really, really saw you practicing a lot of those wonderful principles and really just being the most amazing leader, the most facilitative leader, really creating spaces and allowing for experimentation and just for the journey that we accompanied you on to really, become something meaningful for the NSCF. Ilse, just on the spot, is there anything you'd like to say to Michelle before we hand over to her? Okay. So, Michelle, over to you. We'd love to hear from you now. Your thought leadership, your reflections. We look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and thanks for the opportunity to just step back into the NSCF for a little bit and just to share some thoughts with you. And thanks for the photos, Fulu. It makes me quite sad. I have to just realize that it's like in the past and move on, but it is quite sad and quite difficult for me. So yeah, my connection's really bad today. Hopefully I'll be able to get through this without disappearing, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so my talk is about roots to fruits and back again to my roots. So hopefully I'll cover what has some meaning for people. So just a little bit about my roots and my career. So it's been a long career of over 30 years, starting off at the Amatola Museum as a collection manager. It was my first time I'd ever stepped into a natural science collection, was when I went to work on day one of my job. I hadn't even been there before. And then I left that to go back to the university to do my PhD on fairy shrimp taxonomy. And I had a contract teaching biology. And I was also a waitress and a bartender for 10 years during that period. So not only a PhD student, also a waitress. And then I got my first scientist job at the what was then the Natal Museum as a curator of arthropods, looking after the wet collections and doing research on millipede taxonomy. So that was a new field for me. And I was there for 5 years. And I loved my job, but I needed more money. My pay was really bad. And also I wanted more of an opportunity to contribute. And so I took up a job as a lecturer at the University of Natal in those days, a lecturer, then I became a senior lecturer and then an associate professor. And during that time, I had my first sort of leadership responsibility, and that was leading expeditions, Earthwatch sponsored. So it was people from all over the world. That some of them were bank managers, some were accountants, some were housewives. All kinds of people from all over the world came and helped with these expeditions. And I had to lead them through quite challenging situations. And then after almost 10 years at the university I left, I wanted to make more of a national contribution to taxonomy. And I was a bit frustrated with higher education. And I felt like I spent my life chasing first-year students about being late at lectures and not doing their work. And I just felt like I was moaning at people all the time. So I left and I took up the job at Sandy. And my job was the director for zoological systematics. But I had lots of different titles over the years. eventually being the lead for the Natural Science Collection Facility and also the Biodiversity Biobank South Africa. And that was, 15 years basically. But each of those different jobs had new challenges, presented new opportunities to learn skills and gain a wide range of knowledge about different things. So it was really good. Next slide. Oh.
Put a drop. Let me shift from my side. Get to slides.
Okay, and then, so thanks, Chanel. So when I applied for the job at SANBI, it was a very vague advert. It was a new job, a new position. It hadn't existed before, but it only spoke about systematics, not about collections. And my new boss told me to write my job descriptions. I had to kind of decide what I was going to do. And initially, my main focus, I did quite a lot of different things. I did that assessment of the zoological collections for the NRF assessment. And then I was trying to get the South African Encyclopedia of Life going, so a checklist of South African animal species, creating species pages. And the challenge with that was getting an online platform for it. And I think it's now kind of getting there with the Biodiversity Advisor and hopefully with the virtual museum. But it's been a long time, and that started in 2010. And then also working with DNA barcoding, so trying to set up a national node for the International Barcode of Life, and also leading the Barcode of Wildlife project for South Africa. And also developing and establishing and implementing the Foundational Biodiversity Information Program, which has been going since 2013, funding hundreds of projects now. And also working with Karen Bear, some of you might remember her, on permits for collecting, so trying to find solutions to the challenges. So I was really busy. This is just some of the things I was doing. I was also the editor-in-chief for the SANBI Journal. And my boss at the time, Prof. Smith, he was often overseas, and then he took a year's leave, and then he retired early. And so I had to act as chief director for a long time. And during that time, some of my former colleagues at SANBI might remember, I restructured the biosystematics division. Much to some people's horror, I developed performance standards for the staff and also worked as part of the team for the Scientist Career Ladder. And that was my first real experience about resistance to change and to doing things differently. And how difficult it is. And one of the staff it was actually at Compton Herbarium, said to me, Michelle, it's like watching you running into a brick wall over and over and over again, because I think I just had so much energy. I just wanted to do things, but I didn't know what I was hitting up against. And I can remember, and some of them might remember too, I showed them videos about the penguins and the iceberg melting and that whole sort of story. So that was my first kind of introduction into real institutional change, rather than just leading people up the mountain to catch bugs. Next slide, please. And then I was really busy. And then in 2014, just after I'd said, I'm not taking on anything else, I got an invitation from DST, Department of Science, to attend a meeting for the South African Research Infrastructure Roadmap. And one of the potential projects was for the Natural Science Collections, and I couldn't say no. And we had to develop a concept document, and there were lots of meetings, and Allison will remember she was one of the big supporters of this thing. We developed that concept, and then that was approved for full proposal development. And over a year, we had lots of meetings and discussions and planning and criticism and revisions of that proposal. And eventually it was selected for funding at the end of 2017 or in 2017. And just to say also in 2015 and 16, the NRF provided some interim funding for the museums. And I was also involved in trying to get some planning and also in the panel that looked at awarding money. In 2017, the NSCF got going properly, but it was just me on my own. And we had to do branding. I had consultants who helped with the branding and the website. And then I also had organized meetings, the management committee, and start recruiting for staff and organize the first forum and launch. And at that time, so right from 2017, I realized that I was not skilled to deal with transformation and change, and I needed help. And we needed that change to happen for the NSCF to succeed. And I'd also picked up issues within the different institutions. And so Des and Ilse were appointed at the end of 2017. So they've really walked this very long journey with the NSCF. And then in 2018 and 2019, Chanel, Ian, and Audrey and Dabo were appointed. We started having sessions with Des and Ilse and all the leadership from the institutions, and we got the working groups going, and then there were more staff appointed. And then we just were really, really busy. So that's our roots. Next slide. And we've already started producing fruit. So there've been lots of different fruits over, since 2018, outreach, the stimulator, the community, the course, the assessment, the manual. So lots of different, the herbarium imaging and all those hundreds of thousands of herbarium specimens that have been imaged. So they've been fruits. They might still be a bit green, but they're there. Next slide. And so what have I learned along this journey, my long, more than 30-year journey? So Des and Ilse will be pleased that I now understand the difference between management and leadership. They're two very different things. And leaders don't have to be the managers. So you don't have to be the boss or the director or the whatever to be a leader. Everybody can be a leader. Also, the more you put into your work, the more you'll get out. It's not always financial, but definitely for learning and growth and sense of achievement and fulfillment. Perseverance. So I've learned perseverance. Keep going no matter how daunting it is, how many obstacles there are. Try different ways of running into that brick wall. Eventually, even a small part will crack and you'll make some kind of a breakthrough. Sitting and waiting for change or for someone to rescue or to do something is just really bad news. You go nowhere. Keep moving forward, even if it's with tiny steps. I think many of you have heard me saying before, eating an elephant one bite at a time. So don't stay still. For people, not only managers, but leaders, so people trying to lead something, anything. It can be scary, it can be lonely, you will make mistakes, it will be uncertain, you'll be frustrated, you'll be sad, you'll be stressed. And nobody, like even me, after all the years of leadership, I still felt all of those things on a daily basis. I didn't always know what to do, how to do it, whether I was doing the right thing, whether I was making a terrible mistake. You don't know, you just do. And then you reflect on what you did and you learn. A big lesson I learned is about sharing the load and valuing support from other people, and also giving support to others where it's needed. And working as a real team with leaders from other institutions, in my case, or with the hub staff, with all the team, and with the NSCF community. Those have been the best parts of my journey, and the most productive and the most rewarding is actually working and sharing the load and not trying to carry everything on your own, or watching other people trying to carry everything on their own and struggling. Probably the biggest lesson I've learned, I'm a zoologist. I trained to look under the microscope at cohorts, but my job has been about people. Everything is about people, and it's the most complex, but also the most important part of getting anything done is people. Next slide. So after all that I've learned and everything, I'm going back to my roots. In 2023, I first started thinking about retiring early. I was feeling really tired. I don't know if I was like burnt out or just old and tired, but I started to think maybe someone younger and with more ideas and lots of energy should take over the NSCF and someone else take over the BBSA. I'd also been living this double life. So from 2009 until 2020, I lived in Pretoria, but my home was in Pietermaritzburg, and I'd commute backwards and forwards once or twice a month for a weekend. So not a really good home life. And then during COVID, I moved home to Pietermaritzburg, but we had very bad crime where we were living, and so we moved to the southern Drakensberg. So looking over a World Heritage site that's a picture from a camera trap at the bottom of the garden with a crowned crane. And so it is really nice. But it was quite difficult. I mean, it's quite difficult. Sandy started talking about making people go back to the office. I wondered whether it wouldn't be better for me to be back in the office in Pretoria for the sake of the NSCF and the BBSA. Anyway, then in March, I decided last year that I was going to retire, and I notified Sandy, and then I did actually retire from the 1st of November. Next slide. And I remember Ian saying to me, Michelle, I can't believe that you're just going to grow vegetables. Surely you're going to do something more than that when you retire. I just can't believe it. Well, my tasks at the moment, so now I'm a whole new roots and fruits environment and world. At the moment, I'm weeding my strawberry patch. More than a patch, it's a huge field. So that's the picture at the top with my 2 helpers there in the background. My team, my new team. So weeding it is an ongoing mission that tests my perseverance. I'm also helping some local citizen scientists with orchid taxonomy. So even though I'm a zoologist, they wrote this little book on the wild orchids of the southern Drakensberg, and they're stuck with something. I'm writing a booklet on the alien invasive plants of the southern Drakensberg. So here, it's we're adjacent to a World Heritage site. It's where the water catchment area is for a large part of KZN, but the alien invasive plants are something else. And the people are not really very aware of it and leave it. It's a big risk for biodiversity, for water security, for ecotourism, and for agriculture. So I'm involved in that. I've been reviewing red list assessments for fairy shrimp, and also finishing a paper on millipede taxonomy and conservation assessment, and that's Portia Mailula's MSc. And then also identifying millipedes for various projects. But apart from the weeding, all of this is using natural science collections and related data publications, especially online resources. So I'm now a user of what you produce. So I'm a user of your fruits, of the fruits from all of your work over the years. And it shows how me sitting here in my little place here in the mountains can use it and can have an impact locally, but also more broadly than that as well. So hopefully the next phase, as Anthony and Fatima and everybody has said this morning, the big thing is about access and making the collections, the data, the images, all accessible online. So while I'm using what's there, there's massive gaps. And that will be your way of making a major contribution to the world, protecting biodiversity, food and water security, and inspiring citizen scientists and people about our biodiversity. So that's where I am. And yeah, I think last slide, Chanel. So just to say thank you. I'm really grateful to Anthony and to Chanel for stepping in and keeping the NSCF going. I know it's hard. And then also to Des, Ilse, and Rupert for years of support and guidance, teaching me a lot. And then all the managers and leaders who have been enthusiastic and supportive through years of meetings and planning and leadership sessions. And I'm really glad to see Allison here, because she was one of the very big supporters, and Angus as well. And then the NSCF Hub staff, so to all of them, past, present, all your hard work, your perseverance, your tolerance. I think I often drove them crazy, but also your initiative at finding solutions. And then to the NSCF community for everything you've done in the past and everything you're going to do in the future. Thank you. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing that. And we really appreciate everything you've done over these many years and the huge contribution, which certainly will have lasting impact, and the continued contribution that you are still making where you are. And thank you for the inspirational words that you've left us with. We'll take that forward. And you will all have a chance to say something to Michelle in a few minutes. So just keep your thoughts and you'll be ready. We'll tell you what to do. So Michelle, you're still going to hear some more love from everyone. But for now, I'm going to move into the next little bit, which is hearing from our elders from the community. So we've got Angus, we've got a video, and then we've got Allison. We've got Allison sharing something with us, and then we're going to move to creating a word cloud where we're going to hear from all of you, some words to Michelle. Okay, so we'll play Angus's video now, and then Allison.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Angus Paterson, and I'm the Deputy CEO of the National Research Foundation. But today we're here to really celebrate a very special person, and I really knew Michelle Hamer from my times as the Managing Director of the South African Institute for Aquatic Biodiversity, and also her great role that she played in the NSCF. So I was asked today to say a few words about Michelle. It's not easy to say a few words about Michelle. Michelle has had a distinguished and illustrious career in the biodiversity environment, primarily at Sandby. And I was thinking about what could I say about Michelle, and I think the first thing is that the first word that comes to mind is that of respect. If I knew that I was meeting with Michelle, or if I was going to take a telephone call from Michelle, I always made sure that I had my thoughts collected, because I deeply respected Michelle and her views. And also she was pretty much no nonsense, and wanted to get things done, and had a very good insight into the whole sector. And she played two major roles. One was within the NSCF, but also she was the chair of the advisory board for the institute that I was the managing director of, SIAB. So Michelle and I worked collaboratively for many years. And the one thing I can say is my deep respect for her and what she contributed to both SIAB, but also to SANBI and so many other activities she undertook. The next word I'd use is people-orientated. The one thing that Michelle really did was grab the transformation matter firmly when she started off with the NSCF and really drove the transformation mandate and also the learnings that everyone had to do to make sure that we have a cohesive South Africa going forward. And I really do take my hat off to Michelle for driving that so extensively and for so many years. And I think the proof is in the pudding in many entities now because of the endeavors that Michelle drove. The next word is leadership. Well, Michelle's played so many leading roles within the biodiversity sector, but really the establishment of the NSCF, the Natural Science Collections Facility as part of SORA must be a highlight. Way back in 2014, and she presented the proposal for the Natural Science Collections Facility to the committee. It was a comprehensive document, and that was building on a very brave document that she had produced a few years before, indicating the plight of many of our natural science collections. And through her foresight and of course of her teams, the NSCF was created. But trust me, that was a huge amount of work that she put in and a lot amount of leadership and foresight. And certainly, if you look at what came out at the end and what's happened with NSCF and where the collections community has come from a highly fragmented one to a far more cohesive one, I think that that's a testament to her leadership capabilities. I don't think you'll find anyone more dedicated than Michelle Hamer. At any one time, not only was she playing a role in SANBI leadership, mentoring students, having a research career, but also leading the NSCF. Then she took on the Biobank South Africa as well. She was also editing journals. I don't think you'll find someone who packed in as many hours in a day and played such an influential role than Michelle Hamer. So Michelle is a very dear colleague and a good friend. I'm very sad to see her retire. However, I don't think she will be fully retiring. I'm sure she will be getting back into her taxonomic wonders of centipedes or millipedes. I always get that wrong, and she chastises me for that. So whichever one it is, Michelle, I hope you spend a lot of time doing your taxonomy, which is your true love. And I'm sure you'll contribute to the sector going forward with special projects and that. But just lastly, from me personally, just a big thanks for the role that you played in my career, for the guidance that you gave, and for what you achieved, which was absolutely amazing. And the system will be poorer for your retirement. Thank you.
Thanks to Angus. Those wonderful words. So, Allison, we would like to welcome you back. It's wonderful to see you. We've missed you. We've spoken about you a lot. I'm sure your ears were burning over these years, and you must have felt it, right?
I did.
So over to you, Allison.
Thanks, Des, and hi, Ilse, hi, Michelle, hi, Chanel. Hi, everyone. All right. I must just tell you, it's such a privilege to be back in this space. And for those that don't know me, my name is Allison Ruiters. I used to be the director of the Durban Natural Science Museum for 11 years until I left 3 years ago. I swapped out dead animals on shelves to beans and tomato sauce on shelves. My husband and I own a spa supermarket, and it's far removed from the natural science world. So this morning has really taken me back to a space that I truly love. It is so close to my heart. And to be in this space with all you beautiful, wonderful people, it really, my heart is so full. So yeah, thank you for giving me the privilege of doing this. All right. So my memories go back so far. with Michelle. In 1997, I stepped into Natal Museum, now KZN Museum, for my first job interview. I was 22 years old. I was 7 months pregnant with my second daughter. And I walked into the Natal Museum boardroom and I was faced with 3 white males and 1 white female. And Michelle, hers was the friendliest face around the boardroom table. I didn't know what went on in museums, despite having graduated from UCT with a zoology degree. It was something that I shared in our breakaway rooms, that it was so strange that I'd gone through an entire undergraduate degree, not knowing what happened behind the scenes at a museum. In fact, when I graduated, I went to Professor Jenny Day and I said to her, "All right, I've got this degree, what do I do with it now?" And she said, "Oh, you can work in a museum." Anyway, I tucked that away in the corner over here, went off and got married, had babies, and here I was at the museum, Michelle interviewing me, and I was successful, and Michelle was my manager at the Natal Museum. And really, my love for museums and collections grew from there. Working with Michelle mostly, and also with Dr. David Barraclough, I was exposed to a world that was beyond comprehension. And really, I bring it down to Michelle exposing me and trusting me with the collections in the natural science, in the Natal Museum. And move on a few years, I then went on to UKZN. And I worked in the biological sciences faculty, and I again had an opportunity to work with Michelle, because then I decided to take on my honors degree part-time, and Michelle, together with Professor Rob Slaughter, were my supervisors, and yes, I worked on millipedes. So the taxonomic revision of orthoporoides, Michelle, yes, you'll be proud of me, I remembered that. Took me back far. So that was wonderful to work with Michelle, who I'd grown to know so much, and who I'd really grown to love during my time in the Natal Museum environment. And then to work and study at the same time, and still have her there as the strong figure who guided me, but also trusted me so much. She believed in me far beyond what I believed in myself. And that in itself gave me the impetus to always do better and do more and to try harder, because I didn't want to disappoint her, but mostly I didn't want to disappoint myself. So yes, I then fell pregnant with my last one, Luke. And Michelle, you just seem to pop up every time there's a baby coming around. I don't know why, but anyway. So I had to put on my studies on hold for a bit and then continued. But by then I'd moved on to the Durban Natural Science Museum, and it was wonderful to get back home to a space that I really loved. Move on a few years, and after a few career changes, but still within the sciences, natural sciences and science engagement, I then went for an interview for director of the Durban Natural Science Museum, and who was on the interview panel? Michelle. So again, to see a friendly face around the table, along with Guy Redman, who was also a student of Michelle, and also she was his boss at the Natal Museum. So it was wonderful. It was a wonderful coming home. And not long after that, the audit report came out from the initial collections assessment with Michelle as the author. And it's almost as if the wheels just started rolling, steady, steady. There was this group of us that worked together. Michelle had the patience of an angel with everyone. We were working in group dynamics that were sometimes really strained and tense. And she just navigated us through that path, the path that we were creating as we were walking it. And I know I'm using language that you all know and are aware of, because it was an unknown path, but we were creating that path. And Michelle was there as a strong leader, making sure that everybody had a voice and that everybody's concerns were addressed, everyone's achievements were celebrated, and making sure that we weren't leaving anyone behind as well. I still remember our early days when we started with the transformation journey with Elsa and Des. In Cape St. Francis, there were many leaders that didn't turn up to that first leadership meeting. And Des and Elsa said, whoever's in the room is meant to be here. And those words have stuck with me throughout whatever journey I've gone on, that whoever's in the room is meant to be there. And whoever was in the room at that time was meant to carry the journey forward. And it's so wonderful to still see some of those individuals within the space now. So, Michelle, when we were doing the presentation for the NSCF, she couldn't make it for the final presentation. And so she asked me to step in and do the presentation. Angus was amongst the panel who was actually reviewing all the presentations and the proposals that were being put forward to get funding. And I remember stepping into that space and feeling so inadequate, because here were firstly people that were presenting on energy and nanotechnology and genomics and all these like really big fancy words. And here I was going to argue the plight of dead animals and plants. Okay, and this was, and added on to that was the fact that I was the only woman that was presenting. I was the only person of color that was presenting, and it was scary. But Michelle had faith. She had faith in me, and she knew that I could do this job. She knew more than me that I was capable. And for me, that meant the world. And there was no way that I was going to disappoint her. I needed to do her proud. And it was firstly for Michelle, and secondly for the natural science community. Because I was forever a student, it was the way it worked out. So when I decided, and I mean, that journey was amazing for us to go through the NSCF and realize that it wasn't about the dead animals and plants alone. We firstly had to connect with each other as people to create this community that would travel this road together. And the work that we put in those early years is a culmination of it, And so I think the community as a whole, those that have been part of it over the years, those that have joined over the years, you should really be proud of all that you've achieved, because this is what makes up the community, the diversity of faces and stories, because we all come with a story, I was this young colored girl who grew up in a colored township in Wentworth, who didn't think that I'd ever achieve being the director of the Durban Natural Science Museum, and capacitating so many people along the way, and being in rooms where I couldn't have even imagined having a place at the table. But I really bring it down to the fact that I had an amazing mentor. Michelle led me, she showed me the path, she developed the path with me. And Angus used words to describe her, and I jotted down as he was as he was talking, what are the words that I would use? So the first thing I would use is that she's so brave. She ventured into spaces that people knew that they needed to go to, but were afraid to, because they knew that they'd be upsetting the apple cart. And Michelle knew it. She knew she was going in there and she was going to get resistance, but she continued anyway. So she's brave. She's humble. You know, you can sit in a space with Michelle and not know all the accolades that she has behind her name. She does it as a servant leader. You know, her humility is something that stands out far beyond anything else. And I think the most important word for me is she's kind. Michelle does all of this with such kindness. And I know she's sitting there thinking, oh, I feel so uncomfortable because I don't like to have people say such nice stuff about me. But you deserve it all, Michelle, because this is what you've done. You've created this community. You have now got, and I'm not afraid of my age, now you've got a 50-year-old Allison sitting in front of you. And you've helped to shape me as a person. You've helped to shape me, my career. And, you know, I think the words, I remember when I decided to do this huge shift in my career and leave natural science completely, the whole science and government and world, you know, and made this decision, and it was Michelle was one of the first people that I spoke to. And I said, you know, Michelle, this is what's happening. I don't know what I should do, but this is where I'm going. I think I need to leave and join my husband in the Spar supermarket because, you know, this is the community that I grew up in, and he might be the retail expert, but for me, it's about being part of this community and creating change in this community. And she was like, yes, Allison, no, you must. And I'm like, Michelle, no. I'm a scientist at heart, you know. This is like not a logical decision. You're supposed to tell me that I'm crazy. And she said, and I'm going to say, Des and Ilse, I've changed my language. It's inspired. All right. I remember you guys saying I need to stop using the word crazy. But at that time, that was what I said. And Michelle, I'll never forget these words. You said to me, Allison, you'll regret it if you don't try. And once you've made the decision, you will have no choice but to make it work. And let me tell you, over these past 3 years, I've had great joy, but I have had huge stress as well. And those words have guided me, they have driven me forward, and I go back to those words at least every 3 months and say, I've got to make it work. Michelle said, I've got to make it work. So without you even knowing it, Michelle, you still continue to inspire me. And I am so thankful, really, really thankful that the universe saw it fit to have you as part of my journey. So thank you. Thank you
so much, Allison, for sharing so beautifully and really going to the deepest roots, you know, of where it all started and the impact that Michelle had on you, and also, you know, where we are now. And I mean, I also jotted down all these things, and you've given me inspiration as well, you know. And so we'll take that last line that you used. We've got to make it work. We'll take that with us. It's going to be our mantra. So thank you for sharing such beautiful memories and for honoring Michelle in the way that you have, and for taking time out from your very busy life to do this and to be with us. So we would like to offer an opportunity now for this whole community to give your input. So we want to do this in a word cloud. So what we're going to ask you to do is there's a little link that will pop up on the screen, and we'll also put this link in the chat, and there's also the QR. You can also use that, scan the code there, and it will take you to Mentimeter. And when you find yourself there, you're going to just type in you can share as many as you want to, but one or more qualities or memories of Michelle, which you admired or appreciated over the years. It can be a little phrase, a little sentence, and you can also put a blessing to Michelle. So what do you wish for her future? So please, we invite you to do that. And Michelle, you're going to feel all the love now from the whole community. And let's do that for Michelle. Okay. So we'll share the screen as well as the word cloud is developing. And if you don't find Mentimeter working for you, you can also put it in the chat. Just pop it into the chat and we can also see it there. So beautiful. Millipedes for miles. I like that one.
Such powerful words.
Are we going to have enough space for all the words? Beautiful. So there you have it. We have a mixture of appreciation and blessings. And hopefully, Michelle, you can put this up on in your study, just to remind yourself what an amazing impact you've made in this community. Wow. Going over 100 responses now. I hope you're feeling all the love, Michelle. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the community for really showering Michelle with all the blessings and love. So maybe while people are still typing in, I'm going to just hear if Michelle would like to say any last words before we close this session. Michelle?
Yeah, I think just to say, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, just to say thanks to Chanel and Fulu for having this session in the forum. It does really mean a lot to me to kind of have an opportunity to say goodbye. I'm sure it won't be like you'll never see me again. I would hope that I'll pop up here and there, but just to kind of have one place to speak to the whole community. So thank you for that. And yeah, thank you to everybody for your kind words, to Allison and Angus, and on the word cloud thing there. It makes me quite sad, but very touched by it. So thank you. Thank you.
Right. Wonderful. So thank you everyone, and for the honored guests who came in, especially for this part. We really wanted it to be special, and we know Michelle doesn't like a fuss, but we stood by our ground and we wanted to give her a good send-off. So thank you.